As a delegate in the 4th District, I'm kind of concerned that Representative Matheson is, leaving the 2nd as an incumbent to run in the new 4th. And we focus a lot on the differences between you as candidates. But what can you specifically do to beat Jim Matheson? And if the two former representatives in the middle focus on kind of being viewed as far to the right, and then the rest of you kind of not being known or being new, how can you, with that in mind, how can you beat Representative Matheson?
Basically, there's two things. I don't know if you've been here for the whole time, but we talked quite a bit about swing to victory, which is the latest. Where'd he go? Oh, were you here for the discussion of swing to victory? We've talked about that quite a bit.
I wasn't, no.
Okay, well, anyway, I won't go through it all again, but it's unique software that identifies swing voters. If you can get the swing vote, Republican swing voters, you win.
I heard you talk about that.
Yeah, okay. But then the other thing, pardon me?
Doesn't the state?
Nobody has it. I have the copyright to it, and they patent on it. And then the other thing is that energy and the economics is the big issue, big issue this year. And I can more than stand up to him on this. I can really he just can't measure up to what I've known and written and my experience in this area, and that's going to come out in a big way.
Well, first and foremost, I can't beat Jim Matheson, but he is going to be formidable. And what you need to do to beat Jim Matheson, number one, you have to be able to go toe-to-toe with him and head-to-head with him in a debate and beat him. And he's a very effective debater. He's very good at it. If you look at past debates, he has absolutely embarrassed our Republican candidates. We put people up there ahead of against Matheson that look good on paper, but they can't debate him. They do not have an in-depth knowledge of the issues, and he picks them apart and he makes them look quite ridiculous. Now, we need somebody that has an in-depth knowledge of the issues. We can't have a political rookie go up against Matheson and beat him. We can't have a moderate go up against Matheson and beat him, because you're not going to, if you have a moderate go against a moderate, you're going to stick with Matheson, the moderate, or at least he portrays himself to be the moderate. What you need is somebody that has a deep understanding of the issues, which I do, can point out the failings of Jim Matheson to represent the people of the state of Utah. There's many. And then you have to have somebody that has been in the trenches, that knows how to get it done. Now, one thing about that is that you talk about being far to the right or whatever. I'm a conservative. I'm proud to be a conservative. I'm not the most conservative legislator in the state capitol, but I am conservative. And I think people want a difference. They want somebody that's conservative, and you're going to point out the differences with Jim Matheson, and that's how I will beat him.
You know what an extremist is? Anyone running against Jim Matheson. If you're pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, if you support state sovereignty, want to cut the budget, balance the budget, and address entitlements, you will be classified as extremist by Jim Matheson. If you are a Republican, you will be classified as extremist. He has had very moderate opponents from time to time in the past, and he classified them as extremist. What you need is, in fact, someone who can go up against Jim Matheson and can respond. When he labeled Morgan Philpott as an extremist, unfortunately, Morgan didn't have the financial resources or the backing to address that concern. He is going to label all of us as extreme, no matter how moderate we may think we are. I have the financial resources and I have the backing and the grassroots support to respond to any attack at any time. I've raised over $250,000. I'm quickly approaching $300,000, and it's all from grassroots organizations. I've been endorsed by Mike Lee, by Attorney General Mark Shurtleff, and many organizations across the nation who are ready to go to bat to defeat Jim Matheson.
This is a great question. I think one of the key issues in this race, look, let's be honest, Jim Matheson wins when he gets independents and moderates, right? And so how does he do that? He's going to have lots of money. He's going to have a great organization. I don't think we're going to have more money than he is or a better organization. The thing is how he frames the debate, okay? How he frames this race. If he frames this as extreme versus reasonable, I think he's going to win. And so that's one thing. I think, also if he frames this as, experience in education versus no experience in education, I think he wins. I think if you look at, who can go against Matheson, I call it removing the distractions, right? I can go toe-to-toe with Matheson on private sector experience, education. The only thing I can't go toe-to-toe with him on is his legislative record. And if that's the only thing left to talk about, I think that's how you beat Jim Matheson. You lead him to his record, and so you have no other distraction. You can't frame it the other way. Now, I know he's going to attack me as, who is this new guy? Where did he come from? Stuff. That, though, is a fixable problem. Name ID with its national race will come, and as we grow, it'll be there. The other ones, though, I think are what we call fatal flaws. You have fatal flaws and fixable flaws. And if he can frame the race, again, in these ways that take him away from his record and focus on these distractions, extreme versus reasonable, no private sector experience versus private sector experience and education and whatnot, he wins. But we take those away, and only thing left to talk about is his record, we can win. And that's what I bring to the table.
Okay, well, Matheson, guys, 6-0. It's not a mistake, it's not an accident. He is a great politician. He has been able to take Republican nominees, no matter what, but has been able to define them in the eyes of the media as being too extreme. Now, I know the way, if you read the papers right now, the way that they describe some of the candidates that are here today as conservative brawlers, as hardliners, or as some of the other things that the media brings up, whether it's right or wrong. This is the way he does that, and he's able to pick up independent, he's able to pick up moderate votes. He cannot win without those votes. So, do we hand him that formula again? Or do we put him up against a candidate he has never been up against before? Now, when it comes to money, think about John Swallow. John Swallow spent $1,071,000. Almost came very close to what Matheson spent at $1,400,000. I mean, that he still beat him. You know why? Because he was able to pick up those votes. You think about where you've been and what you've done, and sometimes it's going to be easier for Matheson to be able to define you. But I can tell you, he's never been up against a candidate like me. How is he going to be able to define me? We could either do the same thing over and over again, or we can send up a different candidate. And yes, we're going to focus on his issues. We're going to focus on the stimulus. We're going to focus on some of the environmental issues, cash for clunkers. We're going to focus on his no vote to repeal Obamacare, which 60% of the population really doesn't like anyway. So.